Hi, I'm Dan Q, and today I'd like to tell you about my favourite video game Easter egg. I've always been more of a blogger than a vlogger, so if you'd rather read than listen to me talk, have a look around. There'll be a link somewhere that takes you to some words I wrote about this very topic. My favourite video game Easter egg is found in Ultima Underworld II: Labyrinth of Worlds. Released early in 1993 after missing its target of Christmas '92 and competing with games like The Seventh Guest, Star Wars Rebel Assault, Return to Zork, Myst, Disney's Aladdin, and of course later in the year Doom, it undersold, despite being almost universally well received by reviewers. Developed by Looking Glass Technologies, it used an enhanced version of the engine they'd used for the game's prequel a year earlier. The original version of that 3D engine, by the way, predated Wolfenstein and yet supported several features that Wolfenstein lacked, like the ability for the player to look up and down and jump over chasms, for example. But like Wolfenstein, the engine uses a mixture of software-rendered 3D for the walls and furniture, overlaid with traditionally produced sprites for characters and items. The team's expertise would eventually be used to produce System Shock in 1994, probably shares some code too, and the team's producer, Warren Spector, remember the name, would eventually draw from his experience of making the Ultima Underworld games when he went on to make Thief the Dark Project and Deus Ex, both of which enjoyed far more mainstream appeal. But the technology of Ultima Underworld II and its prequel aren't nearly as interesting as its approach to storytelling and gameplay. It's a real-time, first-person, non-linear fantasy role-playing game, and that's a highly innovative combination, executed over a year before the first Elder Scrolls game, Arena. Underworld 2 encouraged lateral thinking and provided multiple solutions to many of its challenges, and I think that approach is best discussed in the designer's notes at the back of its manual, which reads, "We feel that one of Underworld's strongest features is its capacity to generate situations and strategies that we did not script, but that arose from the scenarios we created. For example, suppose there's a despoiler demon guarding the key to that door. Maybe I should come back when I can take him on hand to hand. Or bring up my picklock skill. Or throw this slingstone at him, see if he'll chase me. Maybe I can sneak past him. How good is the despoiler's eyesight? Can he swim?" What's being described there is what we'd now call emergent gameplay. And while it wasn't completely novel in 1993, NetHack had already been exhibiting emergent gameplay for a few years now, it was uncommon enough to be noteworthy. Underworld 2, like many of the games in the Ultima series, has a selection of Easter eggs, but my favourite is one that I think is particularly well written, beautiful, and heavily laden with both fan service and foreshadowing. Right now, I'm in the Ice Caverns, the third of the extra-dimensional planes to which the Avatar travels in Ultima Underworld 2. This was once the city of Anadunos, the capital of a tropical city-state that fell under the influence of the Guardian. The Guardian is the principal antagonist of Ultimas 7 through 9. The Guardian helped Anadunos secure its borders against its rivals in exchange for a series of increasingly unfair demands. The city's final mayor, Beatrice, rebelled against the Guardian, refused the Red Titan's demands, and in exchange, the Guardian cast a tremendous magic spell centred on this fountain, which radiated out a magical cold that eventually froze the entire settlement under a cave of ice. A fun fact, the box art for the game originally showed the Avatar in the Ice Caverns wielding a magical weapon that becomes important in the mid to late game. Mayor Beatrice lives on here. Let's see if we can find her. She's a ghost. There she is. You can just about make her out. You see a friendly dire ghost named Beatrice. If I stand over here, so you can see her against the ice. There she is. But she's not who we're here to see. If we come over here, up this slope, over this bridge, and down to the other side of the settlement. This here is the workshop of the magician Alorik, and there's some quite cool things in here. Be careful of that shield, it's cursed. But what we're interested in is this wall, because this wall, if we look at it, has a secret door in it. Unlike most of the secret doors in the game, you can't just open it, you'll be told. The secret door is locked. Now in the original unpatched version of this game, you couldn't even use the open spell to unlock it. The only way through was a powerful late game spell like Portal to teleport you through to the other side. I've got a spare scroll of Portal right here because my character isn't yet a high enough level to cast it. I should be able to go through. And on the other side there is indeed a switch to open the door. And close it again if you like. I didn't even find this chamber on my first playthrough of the game, because you don't need to. It was only my second playthrough, when I was trying to be very dedicated and use the map area spell to make perfect maps of the game, that I realised there was a secret chamber here and teleported through. And there's a lot of cool things in here, as well as lots of treasure and piles of gold in the chest and things, and sapphires and things like that, as well as a Grav runestone here, highly collectible. What I'm really here to look at is this crystal ball. So the crystal ball, like many of them in this game, can be looked into, and if we look into this one, we'll be told: you see yourself striving against the forces of Mondain and Minax in the lands of ancient Caesarea. Mondain and Minax are antagonists in the first and second Ultima games. It's long been argued that the Stranger of Ultimas 1 through 3 is a different person to the Avatar of Ultima 4, and I believe that this crystal ball's revelation is canonical proof that they're supposed to be interpreted as being the same person. If we look into the crystal ball a second time, we're told you see yourself climbing to the peak of Olympus Mons on the planet Mars, which is a reference to Ultima Worlds of Adventure 2 Martian Dreams, which is a weird choice for the game to reference. A more logical leap forward in time might have been to go to Ultima 4, my personal favourite Ultima game, in which the player first becomes the avatar of the 8 virtues and the hero of Britannia. Martian Dreams is a sequel to a spin-off of Ultima 6. Why pick that? I think this is why. Martian Dreams starts with a friend of the Avatars from Earth facilitating the Avatar and their companions to set out an adventure that takes them to the planet Mars. That friend is called Dr. Spector, and he's clearly named after Warren Spector, who helped develop Ultima 6 and this game. This unusual choice of vision of the past is a cryptic nod to the producer of this game. But let's look again. Now it says, you see yourself in the deep forest, speaking with the peace-loving simian race of Emps. That's a reference to Ultima 7, the Black Gate, the game whose story immediately precedes this one. Now, Ultima 7 is a popular, beloved, still an excellent game, and many people rank it as the best Ultima game. The Deep Forest, though, seems a strange part of the adventure to reference. The Avatar goes to the Deep Forest, seeking information that eventually leads them to the Time Lord, who provides a stack of exposition and clues that the Avatar needs to eventually close the Black Gate and win the game. The Time Lord turns up throughout the game series. Way back in Ultima 7, he appears in the Dungeon of Time, where he provides a clue that's essential to defeating Exodus, and then he appears to be always referenced, at least in Ultimas 7 onwards. He doesn't initially seem to appear in Ultima 4 or through 6, except in Ultima 9, which wouldn't be released until 6 years after this. It's revealed that the Time Lord is the true identity of the seer Hawkwind, who provided the same kind of exposition and guidance in Ultima 4. That seems to me to be saying this crystal ball too is a source of exposition and guidance. So let's see what it says next. When we look into it again, we're told, you see yourself peering into a crystal ball. Okay, we've caught up to the present. I remember this moment when I first saw it. Serious chills, Because put yourself in the position of the character you're playing here. You've just found a long-lost, centuries-buried secret chamber in which there's a crystal ball. You peer at it, you observe a series of moments from throughout your life, and as you continue to watch, eventually you're seeing yourself staring into the crystal ball, seeing the present, so you know if you look again, if you continue to look, you're seeing the unwritten future. You see yourself winding a giant war horn in the throne room of Castle British. To save Britannia in Underworld II, the Avatar needs to exploit symmetries implicit in the Guardian's spellcasting to travel to 8 different parallel worlds, and in each, find a place from which the Guardian's power stems, and using a certain magical artifact to dispel it. Here in Anadunos, it's that fountain. And then, to shatter the black rock dome that surrounds Castle British, the Avatar needs to encase themselves in a shell of basilisk oil-infused magic mud, immerse themselves in lava to bake it on, find a magic sigil, consume a genie. It's a whole thing. But the climactic end scene sees the Avatar raise a horn retrieved from the tomb of Praecor Loth and blow it. What we're seeing right now foreshadows the end of this game. If you find it in your first playthrough, it's helpful exposition. But what happens if we peer into the orb again? You see yourself sailing through the majestic pillars cropping out of the sea on a voyage of discovery. That is the opening scene of the next game in this series, the as yet unreleased Ultima 7 Part 2 Serpent Isle. The Avatar and their companions sail out between some special pillars that have cropped up in the sea to pursue a troublesome bad guy to Serpent Isle. That vision is a teaser of what's to come. And that's just magical, because not only is it magical in the game world to see your own future, but as a player, if you're playing when this game is released, or if you're playing the games in chronological order, you are literally seeing the future of what you will get to play next. If we look again, we're told, you see the obscure form of an old and dear friend as he sacrifices his life for the good of all. Sometime after the party arrives on Serpent Isle, again in a game unreleased at this point in time, and the Avatar's companions are possessed by the Banes of Chaos and go on a murderous rampage. The story's deep and complex despite being cut short by development deadlines. The project director leading the production of Serpent Isle left Origin Studios in 1992, and then after a bit of a reshuffle, the producer that stepped into his place was Warren Spector. As he was overseeing the final months of Underworld 2's development, he was also working on Ultima 7 Part 2, so it's perhaps unsurprising that plot information was able to make it from one team to the other. In any case, Serpent Isle concludes with a ritual that will save the world, but at the cost of the death of one of the heroes. The Avatar is willing to make the ultimate sacrifice, but in the end, it's Sir Dupré who takes his place, unwilling to live with himself after seeing the carnage he wrought while possessed by a Bane of Chaos. Sir Dupré first appeared in Ultima 2 and has been the Avatar's friend and companion throughout the entire series, so his death is poignant. And it's foreshadowed right here in Underworld 2. Now, at the end of Serpent Isle, the Avatar gets plucked out of space and time and deposited into Pagan, the Guardian's home base. The plot of Ultimas 8 and 9 revolve around the Avatar working to return to a radically changed Britannia, attempting to fight the Guardian and bring an end to the Age of Armageddon, and in the end, the two eventually merge and become a new, perhaps more balanced demigod in some different dimension, vanishing completely from the world, which is why it's quite fitting that the Avatar in Underworld 2 looks into the spyglass one last time and is told, "You see nothing." That's it. That's the end. The end of the vision, certainly, but also a vision of the end. Depending on how you count the Ultima games, there's some controversy right there. This is the 13th of 17 games. We're approaching the final chapter, and this Easter egg foreshadows it. I'm well aware that the series didn't get to finish as well as it deserved to. Ultima 8 was disappointing, and Ultima 9 was one of the worst games in the series, But this Easter egg is inspiring and beautiful, and I feel hugely privileged that I got to experience it organically back in 1993. I'm Dan Q, and you've just heard about my favourite video game Easter egg. If you'd rather read about it, or if you'd just like to go and find whatever links I made, go have a look for a link to a blog post. There probably is one.